Short answer, it depends. A lot. Long answer, there are a lot of factors to consider. This port is really not doing itself any favors in its rollout. First, there was the cryptic language around the initial announcement that didn't confirm or deny whether it would be coming to anything other than PS4. Turned out there was a 1-year exclusivity contract, which then got extended another 6 months with the Intergrade version, and now it's on the Epic Store for $70. That's if you're in the US. I've heard anecdotally that they didn't even bother with regional pricing, so in some places like Brazil, it's absurdly expensive. Now, I will say that technically I paid $60 for the game, as Epic has some kind of holiday promotion going on that provides a coupon for games over $15. Even so, it should have gone down from $60 to $50, not down to the standard full price. With that said, let's break down all the stuff that's worth noting for this PC port of Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. One of the big reasons to play games on PC in general is the greater degree of customization and higher ceiling for graphics and other visual settings. Final Fantasy VII is a weird game in this regard. There are about 5 significant settings in the graphics menu. You've got resolution, frame rate, texture resolution, shadow resolution, and distance that characters pop in on screen. Yep, that's it. And those texture and shadow resolutions, you can set those to high or low. The weirdest thing about these settings is the frame rate. The game doesn't tell you this, but it automatically scales the resolution to hit your target frame rate, even though you also select the resolution on the same menu screen. Beyond fiddling with the settings, I really didn't experience any significant issues in running the game. Just for clarity, these are my PC specs for what it's worth. I should also note that I haven't been in the PC game that long. Up until pretty recently, I've mostly been playing on consoles, so I wasn't putting a magnifying glass up to the resolution or the textures while I was playing. I will say though that there are definitely still some textures that are very much not great. But overall, I found the game ran pretty well. I bounced between playing at 30 and 60 FPS at 1440, and I honestly didn't notice the resolution scaling, if there was any. I did notice at times that the frame rate would stutter, I think. Honestly, it was pretty slight. There were definitely moments during cutscenes when the game loads up a whole different area, which would cause a very noticeable stutter for a few seconds. And I've seen people complain about the overall stuttering, saying that it's immersion breaking, and that the game is at times borderline unplayable. Maybe I'm just a console peasant, but I really didn't find it to be distracting outside of the fact that I was recording footage of it. And obviously, PC builds vary greatly, and I can only speak for myself, but from a performance perspective, the game worked pretty well for me. I was pretty much never taken out of it because of graphical glitches or hitching. If you're like me and a lot of other people right now, you don't have a PS5, so the new content added into Intergrade has been inaccessible until now. Unlike Death Stranding, Final Fantasy VII has put its new content into the PC version, though I'm guessing Death Stranding will do this at a later date. Anyway, I won't get into it too deep, but having played the Intermission add-on, I can say I had just as much fun with it as the base game. They changed up the gameplay in a really fun way and introduced a good number of new enemies, items, and so on. Well, new to the remake anyhow. If you want a more in-depth look at Intermission, you can check out this video here. As far as the base game goes, it's just about the same as it was on PS4. If you haven't played it already, I would very much recommend it. Around the time the game was first released, I was pretty lukewarm on it. The first few hours seemed kind of boring, but the characters, the combat, the materia system, the graphics, they all really won me over whenever it was released for free as a PlayStation Plus title. Not paying for it on PS4 definitely made me feel better about buying it on PC. I honestly find this game so replayable because of the aforementioned materia and combat systems that I had no issue playing through it again. And with this version, you have improved lighting systems, which are at times jaw-droppingly gorgeous, and you've got things like additional fog effects and even more particle effects. Plus, there are a small amount of gameplay alterations, like the new indicator for attacks that can't be blocked. Honestly, I wish they'd just patch that one onto the PS4, as it's pretty helpful. But on the merits of the core game alone, everything else aside, I would definitely say this is worth getting on PC, particularly for those who haven't already played it. especially if you do it while Epic's offering their $10 coupons, which I believe ends in the first week of January. Alternately, you can of course wait for a sale, or for it to come to Steam. If you've already played it and you're interested in going through it again with a prettier coat, getting this on PC is a lot easier than hunting down a PS5. Plus on PC you get mods. As of writing this script, it's been 6 days since release, and there are already 71 mods for this game. Aside from model swaps and reshade presets, there are already some mods that address some of the graphical oddities I mentioned before. There are mods for removing the variable resolution, so you can rest easy knowing you're running at exactly the resolution you set for yourself. There are other mods that alter certain anti-aliasing features, and one that directly addresses frame rate stuttering, and there will almost certainly be many more in the coming weeks and months. And in time, I'm sure you'll be able to download a save file if you've already completed the game on PS4, though personally, as I mentioned, I really don't mind playing through it again. Also, you can wield Scarlet like a Buster Sword, so once again, the mod community is doing the work that AAA game companies just can't be bothered to. And the last big thing to consider about this port is obviously its launcher. It's on Epic exclusively, presumably for a year, which presents a few issues that you may or may not be able to tolerate. First, there's the relationship they have with the China-based company Tencent. Honestly, this is never something I've fully understood, but some people definitely don't like the relationship Epic has with them, and if you're in that boat, you probably already know whether you're going to get this on their store or not. Everything else can basically fall under the umbrella of lacking features. There are a bunch of little things that bothered me about using the Epic launcher. The first thing I noticed was that there was no time estimate when I was downloading the game. I honestly can't remember the last time I downloaded anything without being given some kind of estimate for how long it would take. Seems like such a basic feature, and I don't know why they wouldn't implement it. Then again, they didn't even have a shopping cart for a long time. I also recently read online that you can drop non-Steam games into your Steam library and launch it from there, so I decided to give it a shot, but unfortunately the game just tells you that it has to be launched from Epic. This led directly to another discovery. When trying to launch it from Steam, I was able to use my DualShock via Bluetooth to close this menu. But when playing it through Epic, my controller was not recognized, so I had to either plug it in via USB or use the DS4 Windows software, which then made all the in-game prompts use Xbox buttons for some reason. Maybe that's a setting I can tweak, but I haven't found it. I also got the runaround a couple times when losing internet connection. I got signed out of my Epic account and couldn't launch the game. There was an option to start in offline mode, but I had to enter my email. After a bit, my internet came back, so the issue was essentially resolved. All these issues are pretty small by themselves, but they do start to add up, and while they didn't detract from my enjoyment of the game, Epic should really have a much greater handle on their storefront. So obviously I can't tell you definitively whether it would be good for you to get this game on PC right now. It is overpriced even if it were a brand new game, which it's not. And if you're an r/patient gamer, you could just wait until it's released on Steam, presumably a year from now. But it is a heck of a good game. If you really want to play that intermission content, which is very enjoyable in some ways, and you want those gussied up graphics, and you want the mod that lets you play through the entire game with a dress on, this just might be worth it. Thanks for watching, hope it was informative, and remember, if you want a deeper look at Intermission, you can just click on this video right here. I'll catch you in the next one.